Hello to all the Atlanta United fans. My name is Jurgen Damm, and you are watching Scarves and Spike, an Atlanta United podcast.
Scarves and Spikes, Sydney, Jackson, Henry with you as we prepare you for it. Henry just kind of jumped in really right before we went live, in fact. So, but he made it. He made it.
Definition of coming in hot, right?
I know. That's like white hot there.
Hey, Jackson. Fancy seeing
What's
you
up,
here.
Jackson? The Georgia Bulldog.
And
You're
he's
muted,
muted,
by the way.
Great start.
Hit that unmute
he's
button.
still muted.
And still muted.
It's okay. I'll filibuster for you. So, it's a great
There we
start.
go.
There he is.
Okay, it's still okay. Yeah, there we go.
Roaring start.
Technical difficulties. Yeah, Henry comes in hot. I come in cold.
Mute
it.
He comes
the magic
in
of Atlanta United
in games.
Yeah, exactly.
In second halves of games, to be more specific.
Right. Lately the whole game, but Gentlemen, we have elimination scenario for Atlanta United.
Yay! I mean,
finally.
I mean, yay! I don't know. I'm actually kind of happy. I want it to happen sooner rather than later, just so we stop having that cloud over our head.
I'm just craving the sweet release of the italicized E next to Atlanta United, where I can just ultimately stop stressing myself out over the lack of results and
Atlanta United.
Be like, hey, they played a soccer game. Cool.
Yeah.
E for excellent, right?
Not really. How are you guys feeling? I mean, it kind of sucks to see this, but I mean, there's no chance of them making the playoffs anyway. This kind of just further drives the point home that Atlanta United's season is just pretty much over. Saturday won't tell us too much. We talked about it on our match review podcast. Myself, Henry, and Tyler and Tommy talked about, Jayden Hibbert. Why not just play him the entire rest of the way? You're not, even if you win even if you win all your matches coming up. I mean, you're depending on too much to have to make the playoffs, and it's not going to happen. So why not put Hibbert out there? Why not see what the kid can do again? Went out relatively low risk scenario against Toronto SC, and just play the kids from here on out, right?
Like how am I feeling?
Yeah.
In one word, tired. I'm so tired.
Yeah.
Like going to the match this past weekend, I saw someone replied to one of my tweets that was like, I almost didn't go, but I mustered up the strength and I'll be there. And I felt so bad.
Yeah.
So bad. Especially depending on where you're driving from. I found out on the way to the game that the downtown connector only has 3 lanes now.
Oh, that's fun.
Which was a fun experience. And it just makes me feel for all of the people who put so much time and effort to come to these games and get one shot on target.
Yeah.
I'm doing air quotes.
Yeah.
One shot on target in a 0-0 game against Toronto. Like, Toronto couldn't even pull off a Nick De Leon 0.1 XG screamer to at least make it somewhat interesting. Like, it's draining, but the end is near. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's in the shape of a big lowercase e.
That's a nice little soliloquy there, Jackson. Appreciate it. Henry, how are you feeling?
That was a great little you should write that somewhere. Write that down and then publish it in like your memoir or something years down the line. I'm feeling pretty similarly. I mean, I think we saw the writing on the wall a while ago. We knew that I mean, if things didn't pick up sooner, then I mean, there just wasn't going to be anything to play for at this point. And we've gotten to the point where there's really no return. We've hit the wall, you know? And I think it's going to be for the best. I think after this point, you're no longer really obligated to play your best 11. And I think that's fine. I think it's going to be good to see some of the players that never really get time, right? Jayden Hibbert's now getting time. And I think partially that's them realizing they need a succession plan at goalkeeper. And the Jayden Hibbert's probably it. I mean, I don't know. He just got called up by Canada. Maybe he's good. I don't know. But but you have that. You have your other youngsters. You have Will Riley, who's gotten some minutes, very sporadic minutes. Luke Brennan, who's kind of cemented himself a little bit more. And then you have, Nick Sesek, who just signed, Cooper Sanchez, who just signed an early homegrown deal, Dominic Chanqui, who hasn't played since that NYCFC game, right?
Oh.
So I think it's about time that we start giving some of these players chances. And once Atlanta literally has nothing to play for, I think that's exactly what they need to do. Will the football necessarily improve immediately? Probably not. It might even get slightly worse because some of these guys like first taste of MLS or like their first, like Dominic Chanqui hasn't played a full 90 in MLS. I don't think so. No. Yeah.
Right.
But it'll be good. At least you'll see something different, right? And you'll see some players who are looking to prove themselves, and so they have that extra motivation. And there's at least a chance of something being watchable. At least,
right?
The bar is so low. I will literally go for passable, like soccer, where I can see the ideas start to develop in their brains. But like right now, the Toronto game broke me because I could not see what they were trying to do.
You didn't enjoy the scoreless draw against Toronto FC?
Oh yeah, I love scoreless draws. I love low-scoring games where nothing happens and it's literally the two teams just like exchanging blows like a fight in a Waffle House parking lot.
I feel like there are two kinds of scoreless draws, right? One where both keepers just are untouchable. They just the ball looks like a beach ball to them. And then there are scoreless draws like the one we saw Saturday against Toronto FC. Two teams who are looking at 2026. They have absolutely nothing to play for except to stay out of the shield race. My goodness, the wooden spoon race, and right, the exact opposite. And it's just pride at this point. Pride, and 3 shots on goal between the two teams, 2 of them for TFC. So I guess we shouldn't be surprised at this point by what happened on Saturday. And it's just I am glad that Hibbert started. And again, we talked about on our match reaction podcast on Sunday. I'm glad Hibbert started. I'm glad he played. Just let him play the rest of the way. Give fans at least something to be excited about for 2026. Let them see that, hey, you have some good players, good young players waiting in the wings, and give them that opportunity to kind of shine. If you lose, it's fine. You're at least getting some on-the-job training. You're not going to the playoffs, but at the same time, get the kids out there and let them kind of show out. And again, give fans some optimism headed to 2026, and hope that the players coming in can kind of augment them and hopefully get this team back to the playoffs in 2026, right?
Yeah, it's interesting to kind of reminisce on the last time Atlanta United has been in a situation of, I guess, meaningless games in league play. We just had that meaningless game against Atlas.
Yeah.
But the last league play, truly meaningless, was Decision Day of 2022. And that was just the last game of the season. Atlanta United held out for a good bit of 2022, surprisingly, only for the last game of the season to be the only truly meaningless game. And that was also Joseph Martinez's last game. And we got the rest, I guess, in a similar sense of like a changed starting 11, it ultimately didn't really matter. But
Right.
Joseph got subbed on. I remember, yeah, got subbed on at halftime. And Atlanta United lost 2-1. And it was just, I think everybody was in agreement that it was just not the send-off that anybody wanted for Joseph Martinez at all. And just that game in its entirety was just so strange. It's know that we're going to have a stretch of how many home games are left? Like 3?
Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah.
Three home games of that feeling is incredible. It is exciting to maybe get some of these new faces, some of these lesser seen faces, some time on the pitch, but yeah, it's going to be weird.
Are people going to care? That's the question.
Do they care now?
I don't think so. And that's the thing, right? I mean,
look at the stands on Saturday.
Empty. If they were empty when the games kind of mattered, I think the attendance for that Leagues Cup game against Atlas was a taste of what we're going to see in the last few home games after Atlanta is officially eliminated.
Yeah.
Because why would people, spend your money or spend your time or the anxiety of trying to find parking in Atlanta?
I could be on my couch with an ESPN quad box.
There you go.
4 college football games. Maybe I'll throw on MLS 360 if it's
right
exciting. But there's
NFL kicks off. Like, why? What
exactly?
Why would you? Yeah. Why would you spend your time watching crap soccer? I mean, if the soccer was genuinely like interesting or there was a chance of something happening, maybe. But like, there's just no motivation to watch this team right now, and I think people are just exhausted. And now I don't know what the pull is for fans going into 2026, because at least last offseason you had the pull of, it's a new manager, new sporting director who led 2 successful franchises, and 2 new designated players who together cost like 30 something million. And then you have this. So again, I don't know what the pull is going to be for fans. Like the folks in the ticket department are going to have to work overtime to figure out how to get people into the Benz on opening day. Because you have to, these games have to show that, there has to be a vision. There has to be some sort of excitement for folks. Preseason has to mean something in 2026. And some of these players have to wake up, because we haven't seen the best of them. We haven't seen where they need to be. And until we start to see that, until the fans start to see that there is something to watch, I just don't think you're going to have people who are going to be willing to spend their time, their money, and their effort to come and watch you play.
And, I'll just add to that, Henry. I mean, don't even take a look at the home matches. Look at Saturday against Nashville. I mean, Labor Day weekend, a lot of folks will be probably at the beach, probably maybe up in the mountains, North Georgia or whatever, kind of wrapping up the quote-unquote summer. I imagine still a lot of people would normally be headed up to Nashville to see this derby match, but, I mean, you don't really have any reason to, right? I mean, you're kind of, if you're going, I'll be covering the match, by the way, for Scarves and Spikes, but if you're going, you're pretty much seeing maybe set yourself up to see kind of a time of death situation since that whistle blows. Because again, if the Red Bulls beat the Crew and Atlanta United drops points to Nashville, you're officially out of the playoffs. So it's pretty much delaying. Even if they win, it's delaying what's really the inevitable is what I'm trying to say for this team. And keep in mind too, Red Bulls play the Crew at 7:30 Eastern time. That match in Nashville starts at 8:30 Eastern time. So by the time the match ends, or before the match ends, Atlanta fans will know what their fate is. I'm kind of thinking about Greg Berhalter during, I forget what that much that was in the Copa America, where it's like telling the team it's 1-1 in the other match. So just hold out for whatever. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about, headed into this match against Nashville SC. By the way, Jalil Anibaba from MLS Season Pass will be joining us to talk about the match coming up and pretty much all about MLS as a whole. So we'll get him in here a little bit later on. But guys, we already mentioned good to see Jayden Hibbert getting called up to the Canadian national team. It's kind of an interesting scenario because obviously he played a couple of friendlies for Jamaica last season, and now he's going to be in camp at least for Canada for their friendlies at Romania and Wales. Guys, I didn't even know. I'm going to ask you guys, did you know he was eligible for Canada before you saw the announcement? Henry, you're shaking your head.
No. I had no idea. I saw that he represented Jamaica at the international level, and I thought that was it. But I guess he has that option. And honestly, I mean, it's probably better for him because if he – I don't think he's going to – I mean, I hope he gets opportunities because these are friendlies. Yeah. But, man, if he can beat out Crepeau and Dane St. Clair – and climb himself to be the starting goalkeeper for Canada. I mean, we're less than a year away from a World Cup. That is significant if he can get himself on that roster. It's a huge confidence booster and a huge motivator going into 2026 because when you know that you're going to be in contention for a spot on this World Cup roster, you're going to give your best because that's kind of the pinnacle of soccer is playing in the World Cup, representing your country in the World Cup. And Jesse Marsh spoke very highly of Hibbert, said he has tons of potential. And that's kind of the main reason why they've called him up. So hopefully, he acts on that and he gives him his shot. Again, they're just playing friendlies because Canada qualifies automatically as host nation. Right. So might as well give him a run out and see what he can do for you. But yeah, I think this bodes very well for him and for Atlanta United going into 2026. Because again, he's going to be pushing. He's going to be really, really motivated to perform and earn the call up come the World Cup next summer.
Yep. I'll say this just real quick. I don't know if Jackson had anything to add to that, but I'll just say this. Yeah, I like I said, none of us knew that he was eligible for Canada. Kind of came as a surprise. His mother apparently was born in Canada, so he is eligible on that. Of course, Jamaica, of course, the United States being born in the U.S. So interesting that he hasn't gotten a look by the U.S. U20, not U20 because he's 21 at this point, but interested to see that the U.S. hasn't given a chance with their junior national teams as of yet. That show's probably sailed, right? Because he's gotten chances with Jamaica's senior national team and now Canada's senior national team. It's going to be an interesting tug of war between Canada and Jamaica. I noted this on my X account the other day after the news was announced that he shares an agent with several Canadian men's national team members like Jonathan David, Moise Bombito, Ismail Kone, guys like that. So maybe that's an interesting storyline to keep an eye out for as far as Hibbert is concerned, as Canada certainly looked to get Hibbert to commit to Canada to play for them internationally. That being said, Jamaica, it doesn't hurt their cause to have one of the greatest goalkeepers in CONCACAF history and the fellow UConn Husky in his corner and Andre Blake to kind of help with the Reggae Boys recruiting him to Jamaica. So it's going to be interesting to see what this back and forth looks like from a federation standpoint. But yeah, great opportunity with Canada. And Henry, you mentioned Maxime Crepeau is in that mix. Dane St. Clair is the number one as of this point. I wouldn't look for him to overcome St. Clair at this point. Maybe Crepeau, probably, with Crepeau being 31. So they're looking at who is that backup to Dane St. Clair in the future. Maybe Crepeau has one more World Cup ahead of him, but then who is that third goalkeeper behind those two? So get me interested to see what happens in that regard, but good for Jayden. I'm glad to see that.
Sydney, here's how you know that Atlanta isn't a big club. They didn't have a player like Thomas Muller to spoil that he was getting called up.
That was funny.
One of the things that I think is interesting about the situation, especially as far as goalkeepers go, is that you really need that competition.
Yeah.
in that goalkeeper position. And that's kind of what Atlanta United was trying to do back when Josh Cohen was signed, right? Was to give that competition to Brad Guzan, because the reality of goalkeepers is that you're not going to have a goalkeeper get subbed on, in the middle of a game just to get him some minutes.
Right.
Like that's silly. Goalkeepers are plug them in, they're going the full game unless they get a red card or injured or any other extenuating circumstance. So to have a goalkeeper on your club, on your roster, that is battling for those international positions as well is really gonna heighten that competition across multiple fronts. He's gonna really, really want that number one job come next year. If he's looking at the World Cup, if he's looking at representing Canada internationally, he's going to need this starting job for Atlanta United. And hopefully that'll accelerate his progression with the club, keep him motivated, know that this isn't a locked-on job for him, and can really push himself, even if it does end up being the number one, to push himself to perform well enough to continue to get the call-ups, to win the jobs.
Yeah.
And I mean, hey, if you have a goalkeeper that can perform on a stage like the World Cup, I mean, that's better than almost any case scenario in going out in the transfer market after a number one goalkeeper. So, and to have that here in Atlanta, that's something that's encouraging and exciting.
And you brought up
coming.
Yeah, sorry. I was going to say, you brought up a good point that, he's going to need to go somewhere he can play to maybe work himself into the chopping order or sorting order for Canada, that goalkeeper slot. Maybe that, third goalkeeper slot in the future, that second goalkeeper slot behind St. Clair. So he's going to need to get some minutes. He's going to need to get some playing time to stay not just in the view of Jesse Marsh, but in the view of the Jamaican Football Federation as well. And if he doesn't get an assurance from Atlanta United that he's not going to play significant minutes, I mean, it's good that he's already getting that opportunity, after being a backup keeper for most of the season, not seeing but 2 or 3 matches with Atlanta United this season. But he's going to want to go somewhere, guys, where he gets a promise that, hey, you're going to play significant minutes for us, whether that's another MLS club, whether that's a USL Championship club, or somewhere else. He's going to want minutes. And if he gets re-signed by Atlanta United, because remember, this is a contract year for him. His contract expires after the 2025 season. So I would hope and I would think that Atlanta have the presence of mind to bring him back as potential competition for a number one goalkeeping slot. He, of course, has options for 26, 27, 28. So it could be likely that Atlanta United could maybe put him in as GK1 in 2026 as sort of a prove-it sort of situation, right? Since he does have options for the years following. And then if things don't work out with him, they can walk away and just say, hey, we tried him at GK1. He didn't work out. We're not going to pick him up. Let's look for another keeper. So I feel like in that regard, it's pretty a low-risk scenario if you're looking at it from a accounting standpoint from Atlanta United, given the fact that he's on options for the next 3 years. So that gives Atlanta United some wiggle room if it doesn't work out for him as the top goalkeeper, if Atlanta does look to go that direction. Now, I do think they'll bring in a veteran goalkeeper to compete for a number one slot. And I'm not privy, or I don't have the list in front of me of free agent keepers at this time. I believe Sean Johnson, I just want to check real quick. Sean Johnson is a keeper that, yes, is under contract through 2025. Atlanta
You're saying we couldn't get the Sean Johnson return to Atlanta United?
Yeah, hey, why not? After the brief time he spent with Atlanta.
What was it, like a few hours?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But hey, maybe you bring in Sean Johnson as a veteran to sort of tie the two eras between Guzan and Hibbert together and have the backup plan in case things fall apart for Hibbert. So maybe if Sean Johnson comes in, maybe Stephen Fry, who's out of contract after 2025, comes in. He knows Garth Lagerway. He knows Chris Henderson from their time in Seattle. He's won multiple MLS Cups. He's won CONCACAF Champions Cup. So maybe that's, I'm purely speculating here. Maybe that's the direction they go in. So either way, if Jayden Hibbert wants to be a part of a World Cup roster, obviously he's going to need minutes. Where again, whether that's Atlanta United, whether that's somewhere else. So we'll see how this plays out. Again, he has an option for the next 3 years. So we'll definitely see how things play out. I would expect they just pick up this option for 2026 and just see what happens from there. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I think he has to be the number one going into 2026. Of course, he has the rest of these games of this season to prove that. Yeah. I think he will, because he's done pretty well with 3 starts that he's had. Of course, it's still a pretty small sample size, but I think it's encouraging that, what he showed us so far. And not just, his shot stopping is good, but also he's good with his feet. And I also like that he knows what he needs to work on. I know that I love that he knows kind of, okay, the team wants to play this way, so I have to work on my long passing, right? I need to be able to find Latelad and Miggy and Saba and some of these folks like in a quick counterattack scenario. And he's kind of working on that. So that's good. And here's the thing, right? Atlanta United doesn't just have Jayden Hibbert, right? They have a whole pipeline of very talented young goalkeepers that are coming up through the ranks. Yeah. James Donaldson, he has played with the Twos, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that he has signed a homegrown contract or is close to that.
He's on contract with Atlanta United 2 right now, so a professional contract with them.
Yes.
I think it's a deal where he becomes a homegrown
27.
Yeah, it's like a couple years.
Okay, something like that. But he is one. He actually with the U16s, I believe, he got goalkeeper of the tournament at GA Cup, which is pretty good. Then you also have Jonathan Ransom, who's playing with the second team. You have Zilf saying no, he hasn't played with the Twos. He will at some point.
Oh, that's Ransom. Ransom's played with
Ransom, yeah. But Ransom has played with the Twos. I believe, are they playing right now?
Yeah, as we speak.
Yeah, and I think he is the starter for them. Or no, they will play. The game's about to kick off, 7:30. I think he is starting. And then you have Lucas Elias da Silva, who's also talented, but he has several nationalities, several national teams that he can play for. But yeah, I mean, you have several talented goalkeepers coming up your pipeline. And here's the thing, right? You're in a situation where you could have Jayden Hibbert as your number one. You could try him out there. He's, like you said, probably going to want minutes because he wants to be on that World Cup roster. If Jesse Marsh in Canada can see the value in him,
right,
you can bet that other clubs are going to be looking at him as well. Clubs potentially in Europe who might be looking to strengthen their goalkeeping core, maybe even other clubs here in MLS. So here's the thing. Atlanta could receive an offer for him. This is not reporting. This is me just speculating. But I mean, if he continues to prove himself, they could get an offer for him. And that's where you could potentially see him moving out. And potentially, yes, maybe you sign a veteran. Maybe you sign someone else that's kind of more prime age. That's where maybe signing Drake Callender would have made sense, for example. But maybe you go and find someone else that takes over the number one spot. And then you bring up one of these other goalkeepers like Ransom or Donaldson or whatever to kind of be your next third string goalkeeper with potential, right? That you occasionally start in Open Cup or some other competition to give them minutes. So yeah, I think you definitely have to take advantage of having a player like Hibbert as much as you can. I think, if he's going to stay, it's going to be because they see him as a number one goalkeeper. Yep. Because I don't think him knowing now that he has a path to the World Cup, he's not going to sit by the sidelines. You can be certain of that. So we'll see what happens this offseason, because it's going to be an offseason where a lot of contracts are running out. There's a lot of room for roster turnover. And obviously they said they're looking for another number one goalkeeper, whether that's inside the club, whether that's outside of the club. We don't know yet, but I guess we'll see.
Hands off Montreal.
Yeah.
Embargoed.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, that's kind of catching us up on what's going on, and good to see that happen for Jayden. But yeah, we got Atlanta United, as we mentioned, against Nashville SC coming up on Saturday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. And someone who's very familiar with Nashville SC, having played there previously, along with several other MLS clubs, is Jalil Anibaba, and he's joining us now. Jalil, how are you today?
I'm doing very, very well. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, man, we got you.
Yeah.
All right, sweet. Yeah, no, I'm doing very well, man. It's good to see all y'all. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. We appreciate you. So let's just kind of start out with a wider lens view of MLS, and things are really coming to an end. It seems like the season has gone by rather quickly. We asked a couple of our guests in previous weeks this, so I want to ask you the same question.
Mm-hmm.
What's kind of the big storyline for MLS in 2025? Obviously, San Diego, Vancouver is up there, but what's kind of the storyline that's caught your eye?
I mean, damn, I was gonna say those.
Next question.
Great minds think alike.
Right.
Fair,
Exactly.
If you want to talk macro MLS, there's always a lot. Most people's minds are going to gravitate toward Miami, but I like to look at things that maybe are a little bit behind the page, that are front page to us MLS sickos, as I call us.
Yeah.
So obviously the move to Cincinnati for Evander, that's worked out wonderfully for them and for him individually, not only being an all-star, but I would say not picking up where he left off in Portland. I would say doubling up on what he showed everybody he can do in this league. And when you look at their organization, where they expanded into MLS wasn't so hot, but they've been able to really, really reinvent themselves over the last 5 years or so and become one of the most consistent, best teams in not only the East, but the league at large. But there's a lot. I would just say the overall growth of MLS has really, really started to take form internationally with the 2025 season. You're starting to see players come into MLS who have been legends throughout global football. And that's been something I can't even say started to, because that's something that has been throughout the history of MLS. But I think we're seeing more and more come earlier and earlier, and really wanting to make MLS their home, and where they not only finish their careers, but really find their stride. And I think that perfectly segues us into Hani Mukhtar and Sam Surge.
Absolutely. That's actually where I was going to go, right? We're talking about storylines. I think one of the storylines of this season has to be Nashville. I wasn't expecting them to be as good, honestly, as they are this season. But, I mean, Sam Surge is having an amazing season. Hani Mukhtar is back to, MVP level, basically. Tell me about, did you expect this Nashville team to be this good in 2025? And what's, I guess, the secret from your point of view?
Yeah, I did. And I would actually flip it to you. Why not? Because to be fair, what a lot of Nashville fans have wanted from the roster build, or roster reconstruction, if you will, they got. And this, to me, has been the year starting in January, or even you could go back a little bit before that, when the team was being reconstructed, where it's like, no, this is a roster where the expectations are actually real. And you can't really sit back and say, well, we're punching above our weight as far as Nashville fans are concerned, or those who have expectations of this club. No, the roster build now is a club where you're expected to do things. And that makes me very happy that the players have answered the call, because the front office did what they needed to do. They were, I think, justifiably under pressure throughout the entirety of 2024, and then into the offseason. And again, they did what they needed to do, and the players have repaid their confidence in them tenfold.
That sounds, some of those things you said, Jalil, sound very familiar in terms of a roster rebuild, high expectations. And I want to ask, what role, or what exactly did Nashville hit on to where Atlanta has signed these players? The expectations are there. There's a new manager. BJ Callahan joined Nashville last season.
Yep.
Where did Nashville go so right that Atlanta United has gone so wrong?
I think you can't really look at the two clubs and compare and really pose it in that way, because there is something that just makes everything come together, that is the secret sauce that I don't know that anybody in world football has ever figured out, because this is life. You put your best intentions forward, and then there's just that unexplainable that has to bring it all together. And that's what I would say contrasts Atlanta and Nashville. You when you would look at Atlanta 2025 in January, you're saying like, yeah, nah, this makes so much sense. Ronnie Dyla has the experience. He has the track record outside of MLS, and of course in MLS, winning an MLS Cup in very, very inspirational fashion with New York City, right? And there was no reason to really look at this team before the season started and say, this doesn't make any sense to me, right? But for whatever reason, it has not clicked, especially on the offensive side, because that's exactly where a lot of us had maybe higher expectations for Atlanta, but it definitely has not been good for them, only winning one game, I think, in MLS play since May 31st, I believe. So it definitely has been bleak for them. But one thing I do know about playing in this league is, from the perspective of Nashville players and Nashville fans, you definitely can't look at this as a for sure 3 points, because the parity in this league makes every fixture difficult.
So I want to ask you about, you mentioned, you've played several years, a number of years in MLS, played for really some of the greatest coaches in MLS history, Ziggy Schmidt, Peter Vermees. So you've been exposed to several locker rooms during your career. And along with it, you've been on teams, I'm sure, that have gone through just funks and just long, sustained periods of poor play.
Mm-hmm.
How tough is that as a player to snap out of? And I guess when your teams were kind of in that, how did the locker room kind of band together and get themselves out of that?
Yeah, it's a great question. And that's why I was talking about Atlanta in the way that I'm talking about them, because it's easy for all of us to look at what's gone wrong via the stats or the lack of results and be like, yo, this is crazy. They've spent millions and millions of dollars, not only just in transfer fees, but in salary as well. And it's not hitting. But I know what that is like. And I know that the only people that truly know what is going wrong with Atlanta are those that are in the building every single day. And typically that's just the players and the manager and his staff, right? So for me, going through situations like Atlanta is going through, it's rough, because everybody is under stress. Everybody is trying to really crack their head and figure out, what they need to do. Players that aren't consistently in the 11 are pissed off, because it's like, why am I not getting a chance when everyone else isn't doing the job? Look at me, hey, or whatever have you, right? What I was able to, I guess what I can say in terms of things that did go well, in terms of being able to pull a group out of that, it's leadership in the locker room. And leadership isn't just the captain. It's typically, guys at every demographic point in the locker room that band people together. So it's going to permeate down from the captain, but it's also going to be, there's probably one or two international guys that are going to be a leader in that group, bringing the cliques together, if you will, and then making everybody kind of gravitate toward silver linings, which is obviously easier said than done.
So just quickly, throughout your career, I guess, who are some of the leaders in the locker room that you had a chance to play with personally?
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about this fixture specifically and talk about Dax, because Dax McCarty was one of the best captains that I had, and just one of the guys. And when you talk about moments like maybe what either Nashville or Atlanta is going through, you can contrast the highs and the lows. Dax was very good at pulling everybody level to balance things out, right? My first captain, though, was my most influential, of course, because he set my mindset on to what you need to be doing consistently to be a successful pro, and that's Logan Paws. So I like to talk about those two, because in so many ways they sum up the beginning and toward the end, the more twilight years of my career. But course, if you want to talk about your Pavel Pardos of the world, your Arne Friedrichs of the world, Corey Gibbs of the world, these are all guys that had very, very lasting impacts on me. And then, sometimes your little brothers become big brothers as well. And, Atlanta fans will be very, very familiar with the homie Darlington Nagbe.
Yep.
We miss him still to this day. I mean, look, in a season where it seems like everything's kind of gone wrong for Atlanta United, and we know now that there is a scenario where at the end of this match week, Atlanta could be eliminated from the playoffs. I don't know how much you've seen of Atlanta United this season, but is there anything that you could point to that's, I guess, a positive that Atlanta fans can kind of hang on to from your perspective?
I think opportunity. Anytime there's a season that goes in the way that it's been going for Atlanta, there's opportunity. And what I mean by that is being able to really sit back if you're an Atlanta fan and not necessarily be so hung up on the results, whether it's this weekend coming against Nashville, very difficult to say because this is a rivalry match, and really analyzing what the club does as they move forward. Because best believe one thing about Chris Henderson and all the leadership, they have a lot of experience, whether it's being able to pull a club out of a situation like this or being able to put a club on a very, very high wave and make that into championship material, right? So for me, what I would be looking at if I'm an Atlanta faithful fan or anyone who follows the team with their heart, I would be saying, okay, there have been a lot of clubs that have been on a downswing that have been able to reinvent themselves. Now it's going to be our turn. What does that look like? Look as far as Nashville 8 months ago, 9 months ago. Look as far as Cincy when they integrated or expanded into the league like we talked about at the top. There's so many examples. You can even just go a little bit further south and look at Miami. And it's not just what they did in terms of bringing Messi in to be able to reinvent their club. So for me, there's always opportunity, and it's very, very interesting. And this feels a little bit of a nostalgic conversation because I was having a lot of these similar conversations with Nashville fans and Nashville faithful this time last year.
Yeah, Jalil, in your experience, and I apologize in advance if this brings up any bad memories, but in these hypothetical situation where Atlanta United loses and is eliminated this weekend against Nashville, from your player perspective, how does a player in a league like MLS, where there is no promotion relegation, where you're in this kind of purgatory, because Atlanta United hasn't ever really had this stretch of quote unquote meaningless games to play. What does that mindset look like from a player's perspective of having this run of games to play with no real consequences, you could say, for results? How does that look to a player?
A player doesn't know purgatory because a player is always being analyzed. As soon as you sign a contract, there's a plan to replace you. It doesn't matter if you're a designated player or, you're a rookie just out here trying to get it with, a 1+1. You're always being analyzed. And like we talked about earlier, when a club is in a situation where they know that they need to reinvent themselves, everyone is under the microscope. So now, whether Atlanta bows out of the playoffs this week or any time in the near future, that almost increases the microscope for everyone in the sea level, if you will, to say, wait, is this person actually somebody that needs to stay in this organization or not? And the players that understand that concept and they gravitate toward professionalism are typically the ones that are okay in these situations. Of course, there are some casualties, for lack of a better word, that are head scratchers, but that's football. But at the end of the day, in my experience, what I saw is that whenever the results went this way and the uncertainty went that way, pros went where the uncertainty went in terms of raising their levels, if that makes sense.
So you mentioned Chris Henderson, and he brought you into Seattle in 2014, a team that featured Stephen Fry. He came in as well the same time you did. And Gonzalo Pineda, of course, who Atlanta fans know well, Aaron Long, just going on down the line here. So you obviously have some exposure to him, some knowledge of him, how he's able to recruit you and sell you on the project that Seattle was building out there. And, to be honest, the nights are kind of out for Henderson, even though he hasn't been here super long in Atlanta. Just take us into the mind of Henderson, what you've seen, not just what he's done in Seattle, but certainly you kind of mentioned the way he's done in Miami as well. It kind of laid the groundwork pre-Messi and getting Miami to where it is right now.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring up that time in our joint careers, Chris Henderson and I. You're talking about 2014 with the Seattle Sounders. A lot of people don't really remember the 2013 season. It was subpar for Sounders standards. And they completely, I don't want to say completely, but they revamped the team. And actually, no, I take it back. They completely revamped the team.
Yeah.
And brought in about like 12 or 13 of us. Forgot to mention Chad Marshall. Came in that year, Chad Barrett. There were Kenny Cooper. Marco Papa came in that year, and they completely turned a team that they didn't want to either plateau or go down this way. And we ended up winning Open Cup that year and Supporter Shield, and we lost out on hosting MLS Cup on an away goal. So again, when you look at, what Chris Henderson's track record is, it's very, very experienced, and he has the ability to pull Atlanta out of this hole. And when you talk about 2014, when we were together in Seattle, that was before Garth was there. So Chris Henderson and Garth, they know what they're doing. But at the end of the day, anytime there's a lack of results, there's going to be pressure. There's going to be people that are calling for people's heads. And that's not just players, coaches. It's also executives as well. Everyone understands that. But, us that have lasted in this industry for decades on end, that is not something new to us, but it's also that, remember, we're talking about that secret sauce that brings it all together. That pressure too makes some of the greats that have lasted the test of time do their best work. So Atlanta fans, it's up to y'all to be able to judge what is best for your guys' club, but there's definitely a lot waiting in the wings.
I sort of see a few parallels. I mean, obviously Seattle to a greater extent because Atlanta has had several down years, and Seattle, I mean, their down years, I'm sure Atlanta fans will kill to have at this point. But I mean, you look at Atlanta's roster and the number of players that are coming up, whose contracts will be up at the end of this year. Brooks Lennon, I'm just looking. Jamal Tiare, Josh Cohen, Brad Guzan, one of the big ones, Ronald Hernandez, and I could go on. Several homegrowns, Shea Fortune, Hibbert, Will Riley, who are those players have option years, by the way. But do you sort of see parallels between 2014, pre-2014 Seattle and Atlanta in its current form as to, hey, this could be a massive turnover led by Henderson, led by Lagerwey going into 2026 and beyond?
I mean, it's possible. Yeah, there's always going to be parallels with any group that had the opportunity to bring in a lot of new players, with either players in the previous year that had contract options or, their contracts were expired or whatever have you. But, we're talking about over a decade ago. The league was so much different at that point in time. The salaries did not even come close to mirroring what they are now. Right. And that increases the pressure. For me, what is most important with Atlanta, again, is looking at what the rest of the 2025 season looks like. Is there hope? Is there inspiration? Are there players that are on guaranteed contracts that aren't going anywhere or are going to be difficult to move, that are showing that they're not giving up? Those are the things that I feel Atlanta fans should be looking at. Are there players that, maybe get opportunities because they go out of the playoffs, hypothetically, in the future, right? That get certain opportunities where it's like, oh, maybe he should have played a little bit more, or maybe this is a player for the future, or whatever have you. Or does Ronnie Dyla make certain tweaks where it's like, oh, okay, this makes sense. But at the end of the day, we're all talking in hypotheticals, and football is a business of results.
well, kind of leaving Atlanta United land for a little bit and taking maybe a broader picture of MLS. For me, this is one of the most entertaining Shield races that we've had in a while, right? In recent years, it kind of feels like one team's run away with it a little bit, and now it's like there are 4 different teams that could potentially win it, right?
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about, what do you think? Who wins the Shield and who wins MLS Cup from your perspective?
Man, this
You're on the spot.
What I'll say is this is exactly what I love. I love the races to be tight. I love teams to be really pushing each other. I don't really like a runaway horse in the race this early. We're only in August, and we've seen that in the past. In recent years, whether it's been an LAFC or whether it's been a Miami or whether it's been a Revs 2021. But for me, it could be Philly, it could be Nashville, it could be San Diego, it could be Miami doing crazy stuff down the stretch. It definitely could be Cincy. But for me, what that allows us all to do is, all right, cool. Whether it's Sunday night, whether it's Saturday night, doesn't matter. We could pull up, sit back. If we're broadcasting, we working, but everyone else, sit back, get our popcorn, chill, and watch how all the drama unfolds. Because for me, these are the types of seasons where true heroes, icons, legends are made. So how this race is determined at the end, for me, we'll be talking about this year or the marquee players, of course, whoever wins MVP or whoever pulls out miraculous moments, maybe to push their team to the edge to win the Supporter Shield. We'll probably be talking about those 1 or 2, 3, 4, or 5 players for years on end.
Yeah.
I hate to bring it back to Atlanta United after that, but
I worked so hard to get it away from there.
I know, I'm sorry, Henry. I'm sorry. We're so close. But from a transfer perspective, Atlanta United has had a very busy summer window, moving a lot of players, bringing a lot of defenders in. And so as a defender, I think one of the things that Atlanta United, for fans, looking for is a more solid defense, helping give the attackers, all of those expensive additions, more freedom to operate and ultimately be more productive. And so my question is, for you as a defender, do you think there's truth in that, to where a more skilled back line helps the attackers produce more?
Absolutely. 110%. We always hear the cliches. You could hear any coach when they're giving a team talk and they let the camera guys in there, right? And once they bleep out all the cussing or whatever, they're going to be talking about, we all defend together, we all attack together. Okay, these cliches are cliches for a reason, though. You can't jumpstart an attack if you can't pass out. How can you give your attackers confidence when they know they got to win the game? They got to score like 3 or 4 goals to be able to get themselves mentally in a position to be able to win the game. So there's a reason why the best teams in the world don't just leak goals. And it's not just through the build out, or it's not just through them being able, the defenders being able to facilitate the ball into the midfield third, into the attacking third, X, Y, and Z. A lot of that stuff is confidence, because you could even flip it and the reverse is true. From my perspective as a defender, for all the years that I played or whatever have you, I was under so much less pressure when I knew that the result wasn't indicative of us getting a clean sheet. You ironically get more clean sheets that way. This reverse is true on the offensive side.
Joel, I got one last question before we cut you loose here. So obviously 2026 is a World Cup year. U.S., Canada, Mexico, of course, hosting. And this is time where we're getting closer to the tournament, closer to seeing, hey, who could be on the, just on the U.S. men's national team roster and who may be left out. Just from a broader sense, where do you see the state of the U.S. men's national team right now as we sit here late August, headed into this next window of friendlies coming up here in a couple of weeks?
I think it's way less dramatic than it's being talked about, in my opinion. Because when you look at just the football, it's pretty much right on par. Going to the Gold Cup final, losing out to a better Mexican side makes sense. There's a lot of noise, of course, going into that camp for due cause. I completely understand. But when you sit back and you look at the actual football and the team hitting the marks that they should hit, I don't see a situation that we were all rightfully scared or worried about going into Gold Cup, because the friendlies against Turkey and Switzerland, or excuse me, Switzerland,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
they definitely, it was scary for us. But being a U.S. men's national team fan and X, Y, and Z, the way that I'm looking at it, and it's not just like blanket optimism, is that we have a wider pool than I think we all probably thought, that is properly competing at very, very high levels to be on this World Cup squad. And one thing that Pochettino has done is he's kind of erased that I guess maybe barrier that a lot of players had to get over in the last like 2 cycles, where if you weren't playing in MLS, like you had like a very minimal opportunity to get into the camp. It seems like through his call-ups, if he feels that you are playing at a very, very high level in whatever league, you have the opportunity to get called in. So for me, it's going to be a very interesting one to see how the roster continues to gel, and the call-ups continue to be more, well, I don't want to say continue to be, they may be more consistent as we get closer and closer to the World Cup. But overall, to answer your question, I don't think that the state of the U.S. men's national team, at least at this current day that we're talking about it, is as bleak as it has been talked about.
Jalil, U.S. men's national team fans are never dramatic, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you're talking about. I'm obviously kidding, but yeah, I mean, all eyes are in 2026, and obviously the objective for U.S. is to give a good account of itself, and you can definitely see, why some fans are worried. But I'm sort of the same kind as you, right? Just pump the brakes, and let's put some trust in Pochettino. Hope to see this team play to its potential in 2026.
I think the last thing that you said is the mind frame that I try to stay in.
Yeah.
Have the team play to its potential. And I think that goes lost in, maybe our own fandom, which is kind of the definition of being a fan, right? Like, but I try to be realistic. I try to like come down to zero, even though I'm a fan, but I'm also, close with a lot of the players. Like personally, I'm also, talking about the game professionally. So I just try to make sure that I don't forget the fact that I know what it's like to be in locker rooms. I know what it's like to have guys go in and out of national team camp. And at the end of the day, everybody's trying to put their best foot forward. But when we analyze this team as fans and as pundits, what is realistic? And I don't feel that the U.S. men's national team has really been analyzed from a scope of realism. It's been analyzed over this, what we class as the golden generation. And I understand that can be controversial, but it's been analyzed, in my opinion, from a lens of fantasy, as opposed to what is real and what is the actual potential of this group. And of course, as fans, the last thing I'll say is we hope that they are able to achieve what we can't imagine.
No, absolutely. 100% agree. Jalil, it's been a lot of fun talking to you. Really enjoyed your insight and your analysis of MLS, of Atlanta United, of Nashville. Definitely would love to have you back at some point. And yeah, really appreciate your time today.
Appreciate you guys too. Keep doing all the good work, and we'll link up soon. Are you guys making the trip to Nashville or what?
I will be there personally. I will be there personally.
All right,
match.
cool.
But
cool.
Yeah,
come say what's up toward the booth if you see me.
Man. Absolutely, I will certainly do that. You're calling it with Christian, right? Christian Miles, or
I'm calling it with Evan Weston.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or, got you. Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely seek you out and say hello if I see you. But yeah, thanks for coming on, and we really appreciate you joining us today.
Of course, brother. We'll chat soon. All right.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thanks, Jalil.
All right.
See ya.
Peace.
Appreciate it.
Glad to have to
All right.
Good conversation.
Really good chat.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Absolutely.
The part that really stuck with me was when he said that when you sign a professional contract, the club's already planning to replace you. I'm like, dang, that is brutal to think about. But I mean, it's something that you don't really know or it doesn't really come to your mind unless you're actually in the business and
No, 100%.
I guess the inner workings of how this all works. It's, I guess, the old adage, right? You don't want to know how the sausage is made.
Yeah.
But this, I mean, we as reporters only really see the tip of the iceberg along with a lot of fans. But he said it the best, right? It is really only the players and the coach and people who are there at the training ground every single day that really know what's going on. So yeah, I'm really glad Jalil brought that analysis and gave us that sort of perspective.
I'd love that perspective to go into the remainder of the season of seeing which players maybe see a bump to their performances with that mindset. I was like looking at the games ahead where there isn't much to play for. His insight of being someone in those situations was really helpful to me, at least, to have the mindset of what am I going to look for when I'm sitting down a few weeks from now to watch an eliminated Atlanta United play San Diego.
Yeah.
Because they're meaningless games, maybe from the fan perspective of, we can't make the playoffs.
Right.
But they're not meaningless to the players who are on contract years and are looking to earn their spot on the roster next season. I mean, we talked about how this team has so much space for turnover this offseason. Yeah. Some of these guys, they don't want to leave, right? They want to keep their spots. And so I think this is going to be interesting to see, and it's good context if we see this team generally look maybe better than we've seen it, and we're like, where was this the whole time? Well, there's still pressure on these guys to perform.
Yeah, 100%. Guys, scarvesandspikes.com is where you can find Atlanta United news analysis opinion all day, every day. Also, there's a link to our store. Get yourself a hat, a hoodie. It's hoodie weather, guys, coming up in the South here. I don't know where it is.
You had to say sweater weather. Does anyone get
it's
that?
fake. It's fake.
Hoodie weather. Hoodie weather.
False hoodie weather.
Right.
We'll have another couple of weeks where it's going to get back to like 90, and then it'll go back down.
Preemptively, you can buy a hoodie or a mug or a glass or something like that. But the link is on scarvesandspikes.com. Also, of course, our regular coverage, match day analysis, recaps, Tyler's first reaction, all of that good stuff. Patreon.com/scarvesandspikes. Support us there. All 3 tiers get you access to our Discord. Gives you opportunity to chat with us after the show. We have our watch along channel that Tommy, one of our co-hosts, has been running over the past few weeks. He'll be doing that again on Saturday for the Nashville SC match. So join him in there. But again, only way to get access to Patreon only way to get access to Discord, I should say, is at patreon.com/scarvesandspikes. Definitely subscribe there and help support Atlanta United coverage. Of course, if you aren't already, subscribe to us on YouTube. We're live Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Live before every Atlanta United match. Have our 3 takeaways after every Atlanta United match. Gosh. Henry has his Across the Pitch feature before every match. Sunday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, our match review podcast. And then Monday nights, our MLS Focus show, MLS Monday. So join us on YouTube if you aren't already. And subscribe today. Like and share our content as well. We're also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeart. Subscribe there as well. Leave a review. 5 stars preferably, but let us know how we're doing. We really do take your feedback to heart. And of course, we're on social media, Scarves to Leather and Spikes on X, scarvesandspikes.com, on Blue Sky, Scarves and Spikes, on Instagram, Threads, and Facebook.com/scarvesandspikes. Gentlemen, Nashville SC, and I already laid out the elimination scenario for Saturday. Just to recap, and Atlanta United lost to Nashville, or Atlanta United dropped to Nashville, so just drop points to Nashville in any form, plus a Red Bulls win over the Crew will eliminate Atlanta United from the playoffs. So that's fun to think about. root for the crew, I guess. Root for the crew.
Root for San Diego expansion team.
Yeah, root for San Diego as well.
Root for Thomas Mueller, who might spoil some more transfer news.
Yeah, exactly. But I will say, 2 more teams, guys, could be eliminated from MLS Cup Playoff contention on Saturday. Toronto FC and CF Montreal. So by the time things end on Saturday night / Sunday afternoon, Atlanta United and 2 other teams could be eliminated from MLS Cup Playoff contention. And that's not a great thing to think about. Obviously, it'll be the earliest that Atlanta United have been eliminated from playoffs, playoff contention, which sucks. But that's where we are right now in 2025. With that in mind, let's talk about predictions. First off, I want to ask you guys, what do you think the lineup will look like? Do we see a youth-heavy lineup on Saturday? You don't think so?
Think so. I think they're not eliminated yet, so he's gonna roll out a pretty strong 11. I might even say Steven Alzate might be ready to start. They might start him.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
I wouldn't touch the center back pairing because it's performed very, very well. Gregerson and Mihai have performed very, very well. Hibbert stays the same. I think Latte Lot will probably be out, and I just wouldn't rush him back. So I think he will not be part of the roster. You'll probably see either Tiare or Togashi. I don't think they tried to make it at the 9 experiment again. That was pretty bad disaster. But you'll probably see him on the right wing, and then you'll probably see Saba or Brennan on the left. And then fullbacks, I mean, you don't really have a whole lot of options. So I'm thinking Ronald on the right and Amador on the left. And then once this team is eliminated, you might start seeing some changes to that lineup. But just for this game, because they aren't technically eliminated, I don't think he's gonna roll that, because it doesn't look good, right?
Right.
If you technically still have a chance to make the playoffs and you roll out a rotated lineup, and then you get your asses kicked, right? And you get 5-1 Orlando, right? Just like we're like, and then, I mean, the fans, a lot of fans you've lost a lot of fans already because they're already ready to move on from Ronny Deila. If he goes and does that, like, there will be pitchforks and torches outside the training ground.
Let me ask you guys this, though. If it's a heavy defeat on Saturday, just theoretically speaking, if it is a heavy defeat on Saturday, does Ronny Deila get sacked on Sunday?
No.
I think that's a legitimate conversation to have based on what Chris Henderson said the other day, right? Isn't it?
Look, here's how I see it.
Now.
Yeah.
What?
I mean, no, Jackson literally said it. Why do it now? I mean, if you were going to fire him, you would have fired him in June or in May.
Have grounds to
when
do
you
so,
still
though,
had a
based on that
chance. You still had
result,
half a season to play.
Yeah.
Right? When did this team fire Gonzalo Pineda? They fired him early June last year. And so Rob Valentino had time, first of all, for his new coach balance to take effect and for him to work his magic to get this team 6 wins and whatever his record was to put them in the playoffs. There's no point in doing it now. No one is Pep Guardiola isn't getting this team in the playoffs. Okay? So there's no point in firing Ronny Deila. You might as well let him see out the rest of the season. You've stood by him this much. You might as well, because you're not going to hire a manager to see out 5 games of this season. Is what I'm saying. So I do think that the rest of these games are, I guess, a little bit of a test for him, because I could see them potentially, if he gets blown out, like we're talking about, like 4-1, 4-0, 3-0, like in these last 6 games, which, by the way, a few of them, like Decision Day DC, that has to be a win. Right?
100%.
That should be a win. But then there are games like LA,
spoon, you mean?
Yeah.
LA, Miami, Columbus, which are gonna be slogs, San Diego, like that's gonna suck. But I think if he gets blown out in a lot of these games, there should be conversations about, okay, if the season ends, is he gone? Because I could see potential in that. But given how much this front office has stood by him, it would have to be really bad for it to get to that point.
I mean, just playing devil's advocate, right? It gives you a head start in hiring a new coach. Again, I'm not saying it will happen, but I mean, it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility, I think, especially since they'll be officially eliminated from the playoffs. So I don't know. We'll see. I hope it doesn't happen. I hope they win, obviously, on Saturday, but we'll see. We'll see. How are you guys feeling about predictions, by the way? Jackson, maybe we'll start with you. What's your prediction for? Let me ask you. Do
you want to?
Let me ask you real quick first. Well, if you don't mind sharing, but yeah, let me ask you first. Sort of the question Henry answered. Where do you see the lineup kind of shaking out? And then maybe give your prediction.
I agree. You can go back to what the front office was saying earlier before this run of games, where these are all cup finals, so to speak, until you're eliminated. While there's still something to play for, you roll out your strongest lineup possible and hope for the best. So I agree with pretty much Henry's lineup for the most part. I'll throw a hypothetical switch in there and say that the striker in the striker pool who has most recently scored is now Leo Afonso, who put Atlanta United 2 ahead. It's 1-0 at the moment. He scored in the 8th minute. Haven't had a chance to see a video replay of it, but he scored more recently than anyone else has. So props to him there. You can throw him up there, see what happens. I'd love to see Togashi though.
What are you thinking prediction?
As far as predictions go, prediction wise, man. Nashville obviously is coming off of it was 5-1 against Orlando, 5-1, and that was a rotated Orlando, sure, but at home too, you've got Hani Mukhtar, you've got Sam Surridge, one of whom will probably be my fantasy captain this week if I had to choose.
Traitor. No.
How do you think I'm getting all the fantasy points? You saw my lineup last week.
It's hard to be an Atlanta United fan and a decent fantasy manager.
It's free fantasy points. No, Rafael Navarro the other week, free fantasy points.
Yeah,
I could see it being similar to that game actually, the Colorado game, going out there. I think a 3-1 is apt for the circumstance.
I hope not. What do you think, Henry?
I mean, do I pick the team that's at the top of the Eastern Conference or the one that's battling for the spoon?
Tough choice,
it's a tough choice, but I think I'm gonna go with. Let's just say 3-0 Nashville.
I had a feeling you'd say Nashville. Just a hunch.
We'll just say it's we will say it is a Sam Surridge brace and a Hani Mukhtar goal plus 2 assists because that pair is just straight fire. Yeah, two of the biggest stars in the Southeast right now.
I noticed he said stars in the Southeast, huh? You know where I'm going
we
with that, right?
We don't need to open that can of worms.
But Felipe, if you're watching or listening, we love you, by the way. You're a guy. Sorry. But no, yeah, you said it, Henry Jackson. I mean, the gulf in talent between Nashville and Atlanta is just massive right now. I think it will show itself before too long. In this one, I would bet on Surridge getting a goal to boost his goal to chances. I would bet on Mukhtar being involved in this match.
I bet on a Mukhtar penalty personally.
Hey, I mean, that could happen as well. I don't think it'd be the first time, but yeah, it's right. No, but you look at the standings, guys, and there are 3 teams in MLS that have at least 10 wins. I'm sorry, 4 teams in MLS that have at least 10 wins. Charlotte has 11 home wins, I should say. They lead the league. 3 other teams have 10. Philadelphia, Red Bulls, and Nashville. And Nashville just has been a very, very tough team at Geodis Park. there's a stretch where they were one of the toughest teams in the league at home. That stretch kind of died down toward the latter end of the Gary Smith era, but under BJ Callahan, they just picked that mantle back up. Their only lost guys at home was against FC Cincinnati, and that tells you just how dominant they have been at Geodis Park. I don't think Saturday will be any different. I think it's a relatively straightforward 2-0 victory for Nashville SC. I just think they're just too good a team to let this slip away. And with that, they'll take another step to the Supporter Shield and pull themselves right back in the race with back-to-back wins after going on that 3-match losing streak.
It's a huge chance for Jayden Hibbert, though, to become the hero and to really make Ronnie Dyla's decision as far as the goalkeeper and this front office's decision as far as the number one goalkeeper. Like that would be a great chance for him to throw his name into the ring and really give himself points in that regard. If you can hold off this Nashville attack, and maybe not a clean sheet. I'm not expecting a clean sheet by any means. I mean, if you could keep them to just like a goal, for example, like that, I think I would consider that a success, depending on how many shots he faces, which I'm expecting it to be quite a few.
So are you expecting Tim Howard, Jayden Hibbert to show up on Saturday? Or are you hoping for that?
That would be wild
against Algeria.
I mean, hey, pull that off, he can go to the World Cup. That's all I'm
saying. Exactly. Let's pencil him as a starter right now. Were you going to say something real quick, or?
I want to see the Jayden Hibbert show a little bit more. And again, I kind of go back also to what Jalil said about, I mean, the defense can be that foundation for the attack to start, turning on. And maybe, Jayden Hibbert has talked about it. He wants to work on his long passing, on his ability to get the ball just straight into forwards on these breaks. Maybe that can spark this team to do something and maybe pull a little bit of a surprise on Nashville. I'm not expecting it. It'd be a welcome surprise. But again, from a follow, like a person following Atlanta United, my perspective now is, where are the signs that 2026 can have a positive turn, right? Where are those foundation kind of building blocks? And the one that we are going to get the most more of a showing of is Jayden Hibbert, because it seems like he is the guy that's going to get some more opportunities. So hopefully we do see him in goal. I think we will. And hopefully he has a good game, and that continues to build him confidence going into 2026 and going into this FIFA window with Canada.
So at least going to be a nice night out in Nashville on Saturday, guys.
Funny story.
High 80s, high 70s, low 80s.
So I was months and months ago looking for, potential bachelor trip locations, as one does when they're preparing to get married. And
congrats, by the way.
Thank you. One of the ideas that came to mind was, what if we all went to Nashville over Labor Day weekend to watch Atlanta United play? That would be like a great game, two really good teams, and I'm sure at that point in the season they'll be right up there neck and neck. Boy, am I glad that we did not go with that option.
I'm glad you didn't do it. Glad you did either.
Yeah.
Where are you doing your bachelor trip, by the way? Bachelor
we
weekend,
have plans to go to St. Augustine.
Very nice. Very nice. There are worse places to go.
Yeah.
Certainly worse places to go. Well, we talked about your wedding before the show, November. So November, you'll be a married man. You picked the right date because he'll be on a Friday, and then the next day, Georgia plays
the
Texas between the hedges. So, and
the other thing I won't have to worry about is the playoff schedule.
Hey,
yeah, exactly.
Another positive.
Exactly.
Things are looking up.
Right. No doubt.
Maybe your marriage will fix Atlanta United. That is what we needed, is for you to just like go ahead and tie the knot, and next season we will be back, baby. Right?
Yeah.
So back.
Right. Jackson, where can people find you on social media?
Yeah. Over on X, Jackson_Popkin. 2 P's. 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 2 and starting to get more active over on the old Blue Sky.
Nice.
I believe my username there is J Popkin. Lots of good Tormenta discussion going on over there. So
I'm
you
sure.
can find me there for all your South Georgia Tormenta musings. Yeah, hit me up.
Excellent. Henry, where can people find you on social media?
You can find me at HA Higita pretty much everywhere: Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, though I kind of rarely post on Blue Sky. But I try my best.
Same here.
That's where you can find me.
I'm at SH Wrights on X, SH Wrights at bsky.social on Blue Sky, sidh.soccer on Instagram and Threads. We are at Scarves Alert and Spikes, Scars and Spikes on X, scarsandspikes.com, Blue Sky, Scars and Spikes, Instagram, Threads, and Facebook. Tyler's at ATL Pilgrim. Tommy's at Tommy ATL 96 everywhere. And we will talk to you on Saturday as the Lady United gets ready to face Nashville SC.
Any of the other strikers can score in the first 10 minutes like that.
Who?
Leo Alfonso.
Oh, yeah. That'd be great.
I low-key forgot Leo Alfonso was a player on this Atlanta United roster.
Actually doing something, guys.
Anyway, I will see y'all. See you guys.
See you Saturday.
Peace.
We don't have Tyler and Tommy to help us with our post-credits chat here. So.
Need Tommy to
because usually they come up with some interesting stuff to say. Yeah, I don't have I'm not gonna do a Velociraptor imitation. I'm just not gonna do that right now. If that's what you're into, listen to the final 30 seconds.
That's the top tier of
MLS Monday. But yeah, we'll I'll see you guys. That's gonna be my send off. See ya.
Couldn't done better myself.
Subscribe on Patreon. You can hear that. But from
smash that like button.
Smash it.
Destroy the subscribe button. Sorry.
See you guys.